Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. So we're back again with another recap of this week's episode of Black Lightning. Like always, we're going to go over the things that stood out most to us, some things that we kind of didn't expect. This episode had a few new surprises. We get to see an old character come back. We get to see another old character go through some new changes. So we're going to address all those things in this video.
If you are new to this channel, please make sure to subscribe and also hit the bell to get notifications every time we do a new video.
So this week's episode was called
Revelations.
All right.
I think.
So so obviously we're seeing the aftermath of, you know, everything that happened in the previous episode. We're seeing Jefferson is having to deal with basically being framed by Tobias over the death of Lady Eve and everything like that. So he has to go try and basically this whole entire episode is about him trying to clear his name. Because obviously he knows that he didn't kill Lady Eve because he was somewhere completely different, handling something completely different as Black Lightning. So now we're dealing with that whole ramifications, as well as we're finally getting to see how Jefferson is going to approach training with Anessa. Because both with him understanding that it's important, but also with Lynn, you know, kind of them having that conversation in the last episode that Lynn basically knew, like, you know what, Anessa's going to do this regardless. The best that you can do is make sure that she's prepared to go out in the field. Right. Which I really liked about this episode, because I think the one thing that's really cool is that we're able to see, once again, another dimension of Jefferson. Right. And now we're seeing him in the role of teacher, as far as, like, not in the sense of, you know, him being at school, but him being, you know, trying to prepare his daughter to do what he's been doing, doing now again for a while. And I think he's like the stereotypical dad in this instance.
Say, he's kind of a stereotypical dad.
Like, he's not going to allow Anessa to cut corners or to get away with the excuse of, oh, well, I'm not perfect, like what she even kind of says in this episode when she makes a couple mistakes and Jefferson is very, very hard on her. You know, trying to get her to understand, like, yes, you're going to make mistakes, but it's not like any other job where it's like, oh, you can make a mistake and learn from it. Like, no, your mistakes can be, what he's trying to get her to understand is that these mistakes can be costly. Right. Not just to those around her, but to herself and her family as well. So I thought that was really cool, just seeing that dynamic between the two of them. Because it's one of the few times I think this season where they're not, I mean, they're arguing, but they're working towards a similar goal. I think a lot of times Jefferson and Anessa have always been working at opposite ends of the same problem, but now they're working
together.
Yeah. So I thought that was really, really cool. And I think for like Anessa's character, she handled it actually really well. Yeah,
she actually was ready to learn for once instead of, you know, trying to take control of everything. So.
Yeah. Because I think it could have easily gone that way. I think it could have easily been very contentious and just her just, you know, oh, I can do this myself and yada, yada, yada. But she played the role of a student really well in these instances. Just leaning on her dad's expertise and things like that. So that was one element of the show that, like, I think early on in the show that I really, really liked.
I think it was hilarious how excited that he was after...
Yeah,
she saved him.
Yeah, because I mean, as the episode goes on, like I said, Jefferson is very, very hard on Anessa for not being perfect. Like, he expects her to know the answers to everything. I mean, Anessa's, I mean, we don't know timeline wise, but I mean, Anessa's only had her powers for maybe like a month, if you know, if this is something that's skipping week by week, but it's probably day by day type thing. But like, so Anessa's probably had her powers for maybe at most a month. Right. And there's still a lot of gray areas. You know, Jefferson. There's that part where Jefferson is questioning her. You know, can you swim? Are you immune to? So crazy. Yeah, like he goes through all these different dynamics, and it's almost like it's weird how he questioned her about it, because it's like, well, you're not immune to some of those things. I mean, but Jefferson has probably gone through the necessary steps to find out his limitations. So
That's
essentially, that's what he was trying to do with Anessa, is trying to get her to understand that you do have limitations.
Right.
I thought it was really cool, the scene where they're, trying to clear Jefferson's name. They go to find the body of Lady Eve so that they can find some sort of proof or some sort of clue, so that they can tip off the police that, like, hey, that Black Lightning didn't do this murder. And they ended up, like, breaking into the morgue, and it was really funny, like, Anessa trying to determine how much strength to use.
Yeah.
And Jefferson, like, tests her, and he has her go too easy. But then it's like, you get a quick glimpse of what happens if he also just let her off the reins, where she doesn't think about the consequences of, oh, like, well, I'm just gonna go 100%, which is what she constantly wants to do. But aside from Anessa in this episode, we also get a little bit more of the other daughter in this episode, which is Jennifer.
Crazy. You predicted that wrong.
Yeah, so this was a big surprise to me in this episode, because I think it's almost kind of safe to say, like, Jennifer has kind of been, like,
on the back burner
in this episode.
These few episodes.
Yeah, I mean, she occasionally would come in with stuff that was related to Khalil, or just her getting in trouble and things like that, but there hasn't been, like, a lot of hints towards Jennifer really being that relevant to the story, except for her connection to Khalil.
Right.
And so in this episode, we're seeing Jennifer kind of struggling, because since she quit track, which she did, like, back after Khalil got shot.
Yeah.
Her mom is forcing her to do an internship, and work at her lab, which obviously with Jennifer, she's all about being cool, and she's just like, oh, this isn't cool, yada, yada, yada. And we finally get to see Jennifer's powers manifest for the first time, and it's really random. Like, it wasn't
so random.
Very random. Wasn't expecting it. Essentially, the way the scene kind of plays out is that Jennifer is with her best friend. They're hanging up flyers. It's a little bit of a corny scene.
Yeah, because who
climbs all the way up? Her friend
who
climbs.
thinks that's a good idea?
Yeah, her friend climbs all the way to the top of a scaffold and almost falls off. And Jennifer gets so freaked out by it that it triggers her powers, and she essentially fries her phone. She electrocutes her phone. She burns some papers that are in her hand, and we get the first kind of glimpse of Jennifer's powers.
Right.
For those of you who don't know, based on the comics, and once again, I'm not sure how similar they're going to do this, but in the comics, Jennifer's powers are much more similar to her dad's, is in the form of being able to control electricity and lightning and manifest it that way. So it's very likely that we'll see, I mean, from the way it's coming out so far, the only difference, like the color, if you watch the episode, like Jennifer's is a little bit more orange, while obviously Jefferson's is blue. So it's going to be interesting to see how different it is. As you all know, by this point, Anessa's code name ends up being Thunder. We've kind of talked about it a little bit. While Jennifer eventually becomes Lightning. So
it was crazy, though. I really thought that she was going to wait to, like, say anything to anybody, but she went to Anessa right away.
Yeah.
That was crazy. Nothing happened the way that I thought it was going to.
No, definitely not. I mean, with Anessa, obviously she was very secretive about her powers. She wanted to test them a lot. She used them. She tried to go out and fight crime.
Right.
Jennifer, not so much. Jennifer wanted to make sure that it wasn't a fluke, that she wasn't going crazy, so she does it again. But it's clear Jennifer doesn't know how her powers work at all. Right. Like, Anessa figured out her powers instantly. Yeah. I mean, not instantly, but in one session of trying to figure out her powers, she got it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It's kind of seeming, while just quick analysis, just based off their two powers, Anessa's is very physical, so obviously Anessa's powers are manifested through her taking a breath, and she's able to control the density of her body that way.
Right.
While it looks like Jennifer's are much more emotional. Like I said, her powers manifest when she was scared, and then the next time that she manifests them, it's kind of like she's frustrated. I don't know really how to judge that.
I think she was trying to figure out, like, how she felt in that moment that it happened, and she was trying to recreate the feeling. Yeah. So I think that's kind of what she was doing.
Right. And so it's going to be interesting to see how her powers line up with Jefferson, how close, how similar they are, what you know, the focus is when they have to manifest their powers, and in all honesty, how Jennifer feels about having powers. Obviously, Anessa's all about it. Jennifer, for the most part, has always come across as, in the limited time that we've seen her in the series, she always comes across as the person who just wants to be normal.
Yeah.
You know, she just wants to go to high school. She just wants to be, you know, she just wants to have fun. She just wants to be another student. And she already didn't really like the idea of being the queen of Garfield or whatever, you know, being the principal's daughter. So I'm really curious to see how she's going to react going forward.
Yeah.
Once she finds out that she's the daughter of Black Lightning as well.
Okay, so, enough about that. I want to talk about Latavius.
Oh, I was getting there.
Oh my goodness.
So Latavius so at the end of last episode, we found out that Lala Latavius is still alive.
But not well.
He's alive, but there's clearly something going on, and it probably has a lot to do with how he was brought back to life, which more than likely has some sort of ties to Lady Eve.
Right.
And if you guys remember in that episode when Lala comes back, he immediately gets a tattoo of I forgot her name.
Lawanda,
thank you. Of Lawanda, the woman that he killed right before he died.
Right.
So there's been, I mean, I had a couple conversations with a couple people in the comments. There was one person who speculated, and I like the speculation that it could possibly, that Lala could eventually become this villain known as the Tattoo Man. The Tattoo Man.
I remember that.
Yeah, if for just a quick reference, DC reference, the Tattoo Man is a villain who, if I remember the conversation I had in the comics, he actually turns out to be, in the comics, he was Lynn's brother. But the Tattoo Man essentially...
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah, develops new tattoos, I think essentially like either tattoos that he actually gets or from people that he's killed, and they actually manifest on his body after, you know, and he can typically control those tattoos, make them come to life and things like that, from the little bit that I remember about him. So it's going to be interesting to see if that's who Lala ends up being, because I think that would be an awesome character to introduce, a mystic perspective to this show. While we have a lot of science with Lynn and Anessa and even Jefferson to an extent, like a lot of their, even like we're finding out that Jefferson's powers, which is another thing that we find out in this episode, it's science based.
Shady Gamby.
It's all science based. We'll get to Gamby in a minute. So that's always science based. So I think a really cool way to counter that would be something magical with Lala's abilities, which they may turn out to be the same thing, but I think it'd be really cool if it turned out to be more magic than science.
Yeah. He's gonna be a creepy character.
But I did like Lala. I liked Lala. I mean, I liked Lala when he was first in the show, but I really like this version of him because in this episode we see Lala coming back, and he's very well aware that he was dead.
Yeah. Yeah, like, he knows
that he was dead. He doesn't remember who killed him.
No, which is that's strange too. Like he doesn't remember who killed him. Like,
which I think it's gonna click though. At some point in time, it's gonna click, and I think we're gonna see Lala going after Tobias. But yeah, I liked this version of Lala. Like Lala before he died was just, you know, your average thug. Now he's like unhinged a bit because he's seeing Lawanda. He's having conversations with her. And obviously those around him don't see anybody, but he's having like these conversations out loud, and he doesn't even care.
No, he does not.
And so that was probably like, those scenes were the best to me. Like him first coming into the club and his persona being a little bit more mysterious, more crazy, or just just a mystery. And then the conversation that he was having in the car, it was just like... The writers of the show are doing a really good job of writing the villains of the show. Between Tobias, Lady Eve, rest in peace, and now Lala, like they've all been written really well, and they're very different from one another.
Shouldn't you be mentioning Gamby on that villain list?
I don't know, not necessarily. So once again, we finally get some more backstory into Gamby, and basically we're finding out Gamby, first of all, is not his real name. We found out a little bit more about the company that he used to work for, ASA. It's not ASA. And how he used to be an agent for them, and he basically, between him explaining things to Lynn and Jefferson, we get a lot of backstory on who Jefferson is, why he came to Freeland, his purpose there, And essentially, I mean, not to cut corners, Gamby is the reason that Jefferson's dad is dead.
Pretty much.
I mean, just to be cut and dry about it. Mm-hmm. You know, Gamby was there essentially to... His company that he was working for are the reason that Jefferson has his powers.
Yep.
Essentially, they were trying to control the populace, which I thought is very, very interesting. Very, very...
That was crazy.
I'm wondering like how the public is gonna how other people are gonna respond to this, because essentially you have this corporation run by, I mean, let's be honest, run by a group of white men, at least from what we've seen so far.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
I mean, well, because Lady Eve was a part of this, and so she was a person in charge. True. So that's why I'm hesitant to say that completely. But you see somebody, the person that Gamby was reporting to is a white man. You have Gamby, who's also very a part of this, but they're trying to control a community of black people. And they were trying to, I mean, essentially they were experimenting on them without them knowing it, giving people abilities. So we don't even know how many other people, that's another thing that was really interesting, how many other people besides Jefferson have abilities?
Right.
You know, is Lala dying a result of him now having abilities, or, you know, things like that. So it's going to be really interesting to see all of that unfold. But we get more backstory into Gamby. And essentially all the tension that was building up between Jefferson and Gamby finally comes to a head as Jefferson
wants nothing to do with him.
As Jefferson gets the truth, yeah, obviously. You know, that's what you would expect from somebody if you found out that they were lying to you, and that, I mean, also, you know, that they're the reason that your father is no longer here.
Right.
And obviously Gamby tries to explain himself and try to, I guess in a way, justify his actions. And try to explain to Jefferson that he's never tried to hurt him. He's always tried to protect him. But unfortunately, because of Gamby's lies, Jefferson is in even more danger than he was before.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, most of this episode, Jefferson, the parts that involve Black Lightning and Jefferson and Nessa, like they're trying to clear his name, and they're never able to do that part of it.
Right.
Because of the shady cops that are the shady cops that work in Freeland. So that never happens. And now Jefferson still can't be Black Lightning without possibly causing a scene. Mm-hmm. But on top of that, now he also knows, I mean, Gamby was at least upfront about that look, there's people out here really trying to kill you now.
Exactly.
You know, it's not just petty thugs anymore. Like, there's trained killers coming after him. So I'm really interested in seeing what that looks like. You know, who are these people that are being sent after him? Are they people that have abilities, or are they just trained killers? Like, you know, and then obviously how Anessa and potentially even Jennifer is going to fit into that.
Yeah, they're keeping us on our toes with this.
Yeah, show. I'm feeling like I'm really like I'm already expecting like this huge cliffhanger.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a lot of what happened in this episode. I think we covered a lot of the big things. There's a lot, like I said, there was, you know, we have the surprise of Jennifer's abilities showing up when I didn't expect them to. I'm not sure how I still feel about it. I mean, I like that we're seeing it, but I don't know. I guess I would have liked a little more build up to it.
I think they did that on purpose. I think they wanted to surprise us, because I think we were all probably expecting it towards the end.
Yeah, but I think I don't know.
To throw a curveball. I think
it's still early. We'll see how. Based on the preview,
there could be a reason.
Yeah, and based on the episode of the next, or the preview of the next episode, we're gonna get into it and figure out how Jennifer feels about it, how her family feels about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, all in all, good episode. I'm really excited to see what happens with Lala. Mm-hmm. I do expect there to probably almost maybe be like this triangle effect between Lala, Tobias, and Jefferson, and maybe even, I mean, could even be like a square depending on what ASA, how they fit into this. Are they going to be backing Tobias, or are they going to be another person that's going to be like they just want to get rid of everybody?
We'll see, I guess.
Yeah, the show's doing a really, really good job of keeping new stuff happening and really keeping us engaged, as far as, like, it's not so cut and dry. This is
right.
It was starting honestly to kind of get there, where it was like, okay, this is just going to be about, like, the next couple episodes are going to be about Jefferson constantly hunting down Tobias. And now Gamby's throwing a curveball in there, and it's like, no, it's not just Tobias anymore.
Yep.
And Jefferson still doesn't know Lala's back, so
it's getting crazy.
It's definitely getting really interesting. Please, like always, leave a comment below. Let us know what you think of the episode.
Yes.
What you think about what's happened. What you think is gonna happen. You guys have any type of crazy predictions, whether it's with Jefferson, Gamby, Lynn, Jennifer? How do you think Jennifer's gonna respond with her powers? You know, how do you think training is gonna continue to go with Anessa and Jefferson? Like, whatever you guys think, whatever you guys picked up from the episode. Maybe there were some things that we forgot to mention that that really stood out to you. So, like always,
make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe.
Absolutely. And yeah, that'll be it for us for this week. We'll catch you guys next week with another episode of Black Lightning. Yeah, be easy.